here we are in the middle of summer, and I'm noticing that we're have a small group. Maybe some other folks will come and join us, but we're going to go ahead and record. I found the most wonderful quote that I wanted to share with you, and see what you think. I It's by the writer Simone Weil, and here it is.
Oh,
Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Isn't that wonderful?
mm,
Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. And I was thinking about how, the attributes of attention, all the benefits of attention. And for me, when someone is really giving me their full attention, I experience this this sense of welcome, and I find myself relaxing. And so and I experience it as as a generosity, because so much of the time what we're doing is keeping people out, and our brains are keeping things out. And so allowing your attention to really flourish, I think, is just such a wonderful form of using our attention. And I've also been seeing a lot of quotes about a lot of research about generosity and about attention, and the way that attention allows us to connect in all kinds of ways. And the card that I have for today is also going to be about that. So I was just sharing a quote. Let me just say it again, because there you all are. We were having a little trio there for a little bit, and I thought, they've abandoned me. They've all gone away.
no, no, no. I heard you, but for some reason it said that the video was disabled by host, and I couldn't let you know, and it just poof, just changed. So,
Oh, well, okay.
yay.
Yay, Zoom stuff. Let's blame it on Zoom. Well,
There you go.
welcome. So
It's a
I'm happy
Monday
to see all of
Zoomer.
you. I went, what's going on here? So let me share again this wonderful quote from the writer Simone Weil. She says, attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. The rarest and purest form of generosity. And I was just sharing that when someone gives me their full attention, there's this kind of softening and opening, and a kind of a little kind of a pink glow that I get of and I experience it as generous, because so much of the time we're really keeping things out and not paying attention. So I just love that. And my sense is that it's the most effective way that we can connect right now. So without any words, without any trying to make anything happen, just giving our attention to someone, really letting our attention. And this is one of the things that I experience in our times together, is that we are sharing attention. And so we all literally get nourished by that attention. And so I feel really happy to have found that. I was also looking through, I'm going on a little trip today. So I was looking through some of my notes and, from the past, and I landed on one that we've used for a loop of awareness. And I wanted to share it with you because I think it's just such a great way of shifting your attention, which is to loop, land, breathe, and wiggle. Loop, land, breathe, and wiggle. And I found it, I thought, oh, let's do that again today, because I think up these things and then they sort of go off down, into into my computer somewhere. So what I want to invite you to do is first loop in. So like give your like a big parachute of attention, or a big spritz of of warm or cool water, depending on what the temperature is like, and letting that land. So loop and then land, seeing where it lands, and then letting yourself breathe into that place where it lands, and then give yourself a little wiggle. There was, Gay found something the other day, about studies of, how people had been shifting their consciousness, and they were he was sharing, this qigong master was sharing this thing that will take care of 99 different symptoms, and guess what it was wiggling. So I would go, yes, we're tying into the perennial wisdom. So now let your attention loop out, and you might loop to somebody else on the call, or you might loop to the outside of where you are. So let it loop and land, because when we loop, very often it doesn't land. So I'd like you, as you're going through the week, to, when does your attention just kind of do an ADD thing, kind of an, but it never really lands. So let it loop and let it land, and take a breath that lets you include, like I'm looping to this plant that's right over here, and I get this kind of umbrella opening feeling when I look at it, letting it land, and then I'm taking a breath that's giving breath both to the plant, but giving breath to me. And then wiggle. I'm going to do a little plant wiggle, because even though I can't see it, I know the plant is wiggling. And then back to you. So letting it loop back to you, letting it land, seeing where it lands. So for me, this time it landed in my sits bones. So I'm taking a breath into my sits bones, and then wiggling. And I'm going to let the wiggling come from my sits bones and find out what kind of wiggling, because we have all kinds of different wigglings. We can do side to side, we can do forward, we can do what we call little fish wiggling, where, and so notice what kind of wiggling is most pleasurable for you, and notice if there's any part of you that you're not letting wiggle. And so inviting that in. And you can also, if you're not in a place where it's convenient to wiggle, you can do a little mini wiggle. You can do little wiggles inside, little energetic wiggles. So like when I'm driving, I'm keeping some movement going in my body. And wiggling is a great way to keep flow going. So let's just do a couple more so that you get it ingrained that this would be something for you to practice this week. So letting yourself loop out. So there's this light, nice space between the trees that I'm letting my attention go out, and then it's landing on a branch out there. And I'm letting myself register the landing by breathing. And my breathing includes me and what I'm looping with. And then finding out what kind of wiggle wants to come from that. So I'm doing a tree trunk wiggle, letting it come all the way up my spine. And then once more back to you, where you're letting your attention, what kind of attention do you want? Do you want pointed attention? Do you want a broad kind of fan-like attention? Do you want a wrap, like a shawl around you? And letting that land. And when I mean letting it land, letting it really soak in, letting yourself feel it, sense it, letting it move through you. And then finding the kind of wiggle that wants to come. So my wiggle, I can feel a back and forth wiggle wanting to come. And I was going, no, I want the side to side. So a little bit of forward and backward. And then, so it can be different for you each time. Now take a moment and notice, did you generate more flow? I feel more flow, especially in my fingers and sort of the undersides of my arms, which is interesting. So just notice where you're feeling flow, and take a moment to thank yourself for giving yourself more flow. And anytime, I find that just a couple of minutes will refresh me. So we experiment with different things to refresh your sense of you and your attention. And you can also give attention to your cuddle fur bunnies. That looks like I'm just going to absorb some of that. I'm giving some attention to you, Leslie. I'm going to just take some of that and give it to me too. Yeah. So what I find is that connection and the nourishment of connection is always available if I'm letting my attention be open to both giving and also to receiving. So letting yourself, was there any place in you that was a little more parched for attention? Sometimes you'll feel that. And so you might want to just make a little note to give more attention to that part of you over the next week. Like some part of you might be going, hey, me too. Hey, I want a little bit more. That wasn't quite enough. You can, instead of saying shape up and just, be satisfied with what you've got, you know, which was certainly what I learned growing up. It's just buck up and carry on. You can be tender with yourself. I think this is a time for us to really be tender with ourselves. So now I just came upon this one. I sort of picked it out of the cards today, of the integrity cards. So I'd love to have the picture of that if we could, Michelle. And I'd like you to do the same, looping and landing and breathing and wiggling. So looping out into the collage, seeing where you land. Breathing. Mm. And finding the wiggle. I definitely get some wiggles from the little guy at the bottom. And then letting what you've received come back to you, looping and landing and breathing and wiggling. And let yourself do that a few times, just noticing what you notice while I read to you these two fairly short sentence and a question. I listen to others accurately, appreciatively, and to invite wonder. I was having this judgment like, damn, that's a good one that we put together. It's very succinct, but also very comprehensive. I listen to others accurately, appreciatively, and to invite wonder. In contrast with to invite blame or whose fault is it or who's supposed to do something or control. So to invite wonder, imagine listening or being listened to invite wonder. And here's the question. In what ways can I learn to speak that are free of blame and invite wonder? That's a big challenge right now. In what ways can I learn to speak that are free of blame and invite wonder? And free of blame applies to you as well as to the world and to others. So let yourself, as you're looking at the collage, just notice what comes up in you, memories or sensations or different emotions as you're considering letting your listening, both to you and to the world, letting that be free of blame and inviting wonder. That's the big responsibility move. We can come on back to the big group. This card is really about responsibility because the big responsibility move is shifting from blame to wonder. And I find, even when I'm, really, I know that they're wrong. I know that I'm right. That just does not make any shift in our connection. But when I let myself shift into, I wonder what I can appreciate right now about what's going on. I wonder what's really wanting to emerge here. Then the whole conversation changes. And I find this particular skill probably the most challenging because we get the adrenaline hit from being right. We get the adrenaline hit from blaming. And until we've really developed a big flow of appreciation, it doesn't feel as nourishing because you can get that quick hit from adrenaline. So this is one that I invite you to let yourself return to practice over time, starting with this week. Don't put it off. Oh, yeah, I'll do that one later. After I've gotten my blame fix for today, I'm going to shift into wonder. Because even if you are right, I've found that nothing really shifts, and nothing really shifts between me and someone else. Even if it really is something I can demonstrate that it's their fault, nothing really shifts until I'm willing to shift into wonder, because that's when we move out of our critical brain into our, it's really our creative brain. And to me, wonder only come when I'm wondering, I'm really connecting things. And that's really what responsibility is about, is that I'm able to make connections between things. This happened, here's how I feel. I shifted that. Oh, a whole new solution opened up. So those discoveries I think are really priceless, and I invite you into those. They can be tiny, they can be really big. Just even wondering where I left something. Instead of blaming myself for forgetting or losing something, I wonder where I might have left that. And boom, it just pops up in my mind because I'm not with the static of blame and criticism. So that's where solutions can occur. So I think this is a great one for what's going on in society right now. Although I got to say, I also find great value in a rant. So, if you feel a big rant coming on, what I invite you to do is, let yourself go and let yourself move with it. I like to do it. We happen to have a pool. And so I do some of my ranting underwater, and flailing around and can do it. So expressing can be very valuable. So I'm not asking for you all to be nice, but to really notice the shift from blame to wonder and what opens up for you. So let's see what we get from Presence Connect Play. Presence today is befriend feelings and be with. So for me, this is very much about appreciating that if I can be with my feelings, something always shifts. If I'm recognizing, I was just thinking of the Saturday Night Live from many decades ago, where they had noogies. He'd grab and give Rosanna Rodana noogies, and it's a kind of a, I'm going to be with you. It's a little jostling. Sometimes I think of Christopher Robin, and Winnie the Pooh. That there's this kind of being with. It's just like a little nudge, a little I'm here. It's really putting your arm around, but not trying to do anything. Most of us have had the direction with our feelings that we're supposed to, stop it, or calm down, or control it, rather than really being with. And that's often what I find that my feelings need. They just need the acknowledgement of being with. Like this morning, I had this one of my, if I were going to rant, one of the things I'm going to rant about is how difficult it is to open things these days. Like if I get a bottle of something, it's got the outside, it's wrapped, and then I finally can get it open. And then there's another thing inside that I have to get a knife to open it up because there's nothing to pull it off. So I was opening cream today. Gay makes coffee for me. I was opening the cream to put in the coffee, and inside the lid there was another thing to pull out. And so it's that little thing, the loopy thing that you pull, and I could see it was stretching. It just wouldn't pull out. And so so I gave it a yank. So my elbow went into my coffee went into my robe and went all over the floor. And so I thought, well, so I had a moment of, I had an oh shit moment. And then I went, oh, wow, that was, because I'd never done that before. So I was just kind of celebrating the flow and so being with. I had this thought, if I hadn't had gone into my these these lids that I probably wouldn't have done that. So I learned my lesson through experience rather than through wisdom. So the being with, stuff happens, but I also, I didn't get mad at myself or I just said, oh, that was, wow, I wish I'd had a video going. That was a good one. And so, in the realm of stuff happens. So I want to invite you to find ways that you can be with, and then notice when it starts going over into trying to control it. And then letting yourself use your loop of awareness to come back to being with. And that I find is just a wonderful way to befriend. So, oh, connect. Connect is another really great one, very simple, but very powerful, which is to open your posture. So I notice if I'm not open to connecting and I'm closed, then it often is in my posture. So here are some of the your shoulders. Those are, so just check your shoulders right now, because with computers, we tend to get our shoulders curled up. But also, if you let your shoulders kind of collapse, so shoulders and chest, if you're letting your chest kind of collapse onto your waist, that's another place that you could open. I find also my belly. So if I'm feeling a little bit of fear, I'm contracting my belly. But another place is your face. So notice if you're feeling tension in your face, and I like to do a little what I call face flapping. This would be a great way to open your face, which is to let your head lean forward and go. Ah, and I feel I can see I'm more pink. Can you feel that you get more pink from this? So this is a great thing to do, like a little break when you're at your computer or you're, getting ready to go into an important meeting, is to doing a little face flapping. I like to do that too, just on a regular basis, because we carry so much tension in our faces, because here we are showing our faces on Zoom, and we are face forward almost all the time. So giving attention to opening your face is really, and another way to open your posture is to hum. So humming opens the connection between your head and the rest of your body, but it also opens your throat. And I've experienced just amazing openness over the years that I've been practicing humming, that I can actually notice, oh, I'm starting to get a little tight in the and opening. And you'll notice a difference in your tone. You'll notice a difference I find, in my creativity, but also in my ability to connect with others. Because if I'm using a tight voice, it's a little different. People aren't going to connect with me as much as if my throat is open. So you can play with that tight throat and open throat. When you're talking with a friend, that'd be a fun thing to play with. And then play is receive and then toss. So very often, if someone is saying something to us, we don't really receive it. We just bounce it back like we're in a ping pong match. So receiving, even if it's something that you don't really want to receive, you can let yourself play with that, receive and then toss. So, oh, those are fun ones today for our Presence Connect play. So thank you, Zoom, for letting us meet today. And, thank you all for being here. And please stay and play and connect. And thanks for bringing your fur bunny to share with us. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Mwah. Bye now.